Gerry Visca, the publisher of Defyeneurs, and welcome to the Difference Makers issue. This is an exciting day as we kick off the Difference Makers, and we are live with one of my favorite authors, speaker, and just global difference maker, Jack Canfield. Jack, welcome to Defyeneurs.
My pleasure, Gerry. Thank you.
You know, Jack, I'm really excited about your work. I'm excited about shining a light on especially some of your recent projects, and I just want to kick off with listeners. You know, what led you to want to make a difference in the world?
Well, I think it all started during my second year of graduate school. I was in University of Chicago at the Graduate School of Education. I wanted to be a teacher, and they did a thing where we visited 3 schools in one day just to kind of see what we wanted to do. And one of the schools was an inner city all-black school, and I realized that I could really make a difference there. And so I started teaching in this school. As part of the program, we taught 3/5 of the day, and then the rest of the time we'd be in class. And after about a month, I realized I was more interested in motivating these kids than in teaching history because they didn't believe in themselves. They had low self-esteem. They were members of gangs. They didn't believe they could be successful in life or get out of the ghetto. And so I became really fascinated with how do I motivate kids to believe they could achieve. And at the end of that year, watching how so many of the teachers weren't really motivated to teach the kids, how a lot of the people were just putting in time, seeing the impact of poverty and the impact of racism, I just really became, I guess, just as committed to wanting to help. And it stayed there. And then what happened was I taught for a couple of years. I worked in a Job Corps center for kids who dropped out of school who were learning job skills to try to get back into the workforce. And then I was at the University of Massachusetts for a doctoral program after that. And while we were there, this guy from University of California, Santa Barbara visited and led us through a process where we had to go back to the earliest time we could remember wanting to be a teacher. And everybody went back to 4th grade. Mrs. Tuttle inspired them, or they went back to, while they were in college, they worked in a summer camp. I went back. It was weird. I went back to before I was born, and it just kind of shocked me. It was kind of this very spiritual, weird experience where I literally was with a group of spirits kind of flying through space, looking down on Earth. I was born in 1944, which is World War II. That's a long time ago. And, the world was blowing up. Countries are shooting each other and atomic bombs and all this. I just said, I want to go down and help out. And a lot of the other people that were with me said, you're just being codependent. You should stay up here. We're having fun. I said, no, I got to go. So at that moment in time, it kind of solidified that my purpose was to inspire and empower people to live more fulfilling, meaningful, socially just, spiritually fulfilling, peace-oriented lives. And so that's when I came out of that. I just really dedicated my life to helping people grow. And then as I started to work outside of education, doing some public seminars, I began to see that everybody was in a prison of some kind. It wasn't just kids in schools. It was people in corporations who had limiting beliefs and fears and habits that were keeping them stuck, and people in general who were ignorant about the psychological principles that make us feel good, the success principles that allow us to be successful, the universal laws like the law of attraction, how to manage their own personal states and create enthusiasm and joy and passion and self-confidence and courage and perseverance. So most people, I just discovered, were living in resignation and fear and hopelessness, and that was masked with anger, as you see so much in the American political system right now. Everyone's responding in a very angry way to the political establishment. So we have all this resignation and hopelessness and fear that people are living in, but it's masked over by a veneer of anger. And I said we're seeing that so much in the American primary process now, with so many people just being angry at the government, and therefore supporting Donald Trump or supporting Bernie Sanders against the political establishment. But I see that around the world, and certainly in North America, Canada included, that a lot of people are just kind of putting in time thinking they can't really be successful. They can't have what they want.
I love it. I really love how your education and your work as a teacher kicked off and ignited your motivational work and your inspirational work. Just before we get into the second question, Jack, I want to share a quote from your book, The Success Principles. As you know, it was a Bible to me, and it really kicked off the energy of Defyeneurs. And we've gone on to, impact well over 100,000 people now with the energy of everyday people doing extraordinary things. But there was a specific line that was in the Success Principles, and it goes like this: if you want to be successful, you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that you experience in your life. So, Jack, how are you using your life now to make a difference in the world?
Well, I do it a number of ways, Gerry. One is I write books to inspire and empower people, like the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, of which there are now 500 million in print in something like 47 languages around the world. Those stories inspire people to believe that anything's possible. They can achieve great dreams. I love your phrase there, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think that it also teaches them that they can have great love in their life and they can make a difference. And I think people are inspired when they read stories of people just like them that are going out there and doing that. And there are stories of everyday people, like you said, everyday people doing extraordinary things, also doing extraordinary acts of service, extraordinary acts of heroism, extraordinary acts of love. And so it's not just being successful, it's also being impactful in the world. And then also I write books like the Success Principles, the 30-Day Sobriety Solution, Dare to Win, The Power of Focus, that teach people tools that allow them to be more successful, to have lives of meaning and making a difference in the world. I also create audio and video programs that people can listen to in their car, listen to at home on their iPads and their iPods and so forth, and their iPhones and their smartphones. So we'll go beyond Apple for a minute. And then creating YouTube videos. I mean, there must be 30 or 40 hours of me on YouTube that people can watch for free. And now one of the big things we're doing is we created a Train the Trainer program. We have a live program. It's 2 weeks plus 30 hours of home study on video. And then we have 500 graduates of that program in 27 countries. And then we have an online program where we're training people. And we now have 1,000 graduates of that program in 79 countries where we're training them to teach the success principles. And we want them to teach it in the schools, to welfare recipients, to business schools, and then the prisons, in addiction rehab centers, and so forth. And now we're starting to develop specific curricula. We have self-esteem in the classroom, 100 ways to enhance self-esteem and responsibility in the classroom. We've got a cadre of teachers that have now gone through all these trainings that are developing more curricula. We've taken 800,000 people off welfare with our Goals program. We have a program that's being designed for business schools. You go to business school and you never learn anything about the real world. You're studying all these principles, but you're not really learning how to stay motivated and how to manage people and teach communication and leadership and strategic planning and all the things that we teach in our program. So basically, it's just continually finding new vehicles and to reach new niche markets of people that can be benefiting from this work.
I love that. I love how your work is attracting so many amazing ambassadors, Jack. It's just fantastic to see that. This next question kind of is a segue into your last one there. I've heard you speak on the importance of inspiration and inspiring others. How are you continually reaching out? I know you have a lot of touch points, but how are you continually reaching out to inspire those around you?
Well, I do a lot of interviews. I'm doing 3 today. I did 2 yesterday. I do a lot of speaking. I am literally, in the last week, I did a 7-day training for 200 people. I talked to 2 multi-level marketing companies of 1,000 people each. The week before that, I spoke to 2,000 real estate investors in Houston, Texas. I'm doing blogcasts, podcasts, internet radio, and TV interviews. I do trainings, at least about 8 times a year, week-long trainings, keynotes all over the place, conferences, and I write blogs and Facebook posts, and I chat with people in our communities. We have community forums on Facebook for our Breakthrough to Success graduates, for our Train the Trainer graduates, for our 30-Day Sobriety Solution readers. I have a free website for them. I go in and interact with those on a regular basis and share stories of people who've overcome, people who've gone through that program and have gone on to do great things. I mean, one of my favorite stories is about a Canadian, Forrest Willett, who lives in a town called Tiny, Ontario, and he was basically had a major brain injury in an automobile accident, and for a year he laid in bed depressed, and they told him he'd never talk right again, never walk right again, never be able to read again beyond the third or fourth grade level. And he heard me speak in a morning TV show in Toronto. Good morning, it's Jack Canfield. He's going to teach you how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And he said, well, I'm tired of being in bed. So he got his wife to buy a copy of the book after that, my Success Principles book. And he then read the book. Took him over a year and a half to read it. He had to hire a reading coach, but he was really committed. Had his wife read it to him. Finally, he got out of bed and he started doing the things in the book. And then a year later, he took my training program in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then a year after that, he joined my Train the Trainer program. Now he's a trainer. He just came back from Dubai, where he took his family and did a week of trainings that was paid for by Emirates Airlines and the airport over there in Dubai. He's spoken in India. He just gave me a book that he wrote, another book that he wrote for children, and then I just got a book from someone where he's written the foreword to the book. And this is a guy who was never supposed to write or talk again. So that's what inspires me. And when I share those stories with people, it inspires them as well. And I think, that all these outreaches, I will talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime if I think it'll reach anybody, because it's like a giant chain letter. It's really what you're doing too. You inspire one person through Defyeneurs, and then they inspire two more, and those two inspire two more, and eventually we reach the whole world.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, he's a difference maker as well. I love your commitment to your craft, and you're continually looking for new ways to get your message out there. I just love that. Jack, why does the world need everyday difference makers now? This is the essence of this issue, but why does the world need difference makers like yourself now more than ever?
Well, I think the world's in greater need than it's ever been. We are on the brink of extinguishing ourselves through global warming, through overpollution, through just fossil fuels that are polluting the environment. We have a crisis with terrorism in the world because we're not providing jobs and meaningful existence to a whole lot of people in parts of the world, so they're turning to anything that will give them a sense of self-esteem, a sense of belonging, and a sense of purpose, and that's what creates things like ISIS. We have an economy that's not working for probably about half the world. Half the world's living on $3 a day or less. The Canadian currency where you live is devalued. We have to, lower our prices for anyone coming to Canada, from Canada to our workshops. We see that happening in Europe and Greece, all over the world. China is, on the verge of an economic breakdown. We have huge unemployment. We have huge drug and alcohol problems. 2 out of 3 people in North America are excessive drinkers. We see huge problems with heroin in places like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I'm sure that's found its way into the southern parts of Canada. People are, abusing drugs and alcohol all over. We have huge amounts of depression in the world. Antidepressant drug use with Xanax and things like Valium and so forth, our Paxil are way up. Our food is being polluted with GMOs. Our healthcare costs are all through the roof. There's corruption in government, economic disparity everywhere. So, we need everyone in every silo that's out there, every area of our lives, in education and healthcare and business, government, politics, financial institutions, entertainment. I mean, if you looked at the Academy Awards recently, in America, no black nominees, no people of color, and so huge movement going on to right that. We have racism in so many places in the world, and we have a huge migration process. We have water that's not clean to drink in many places, and a lot of people have no clean water. So I could go on and on about the problems in the world. So we need everybody at a grassroots level helping people, their neighbors, helping in their local communities, helping people as far away as Africa, building schools, building wells. So everyday people can do things. If you just turn to your neighbor, you'd be surprised in your community how many people are lonely, how many people are not eating correctly, how many people are suffering from disease who don't know about the proper health care, that can't afford it, that maybe are too old to cut their grass or paint their house. Everywhere you look, there's need. And everywhere you look, there's an opportunity to make a difference in the life of somebody. So we don't have to all fly over to Pakistan or Nepal after an earthquake. We can do it right in our own communities.
I love that. I really love that you embrace our greatest belief that everyday people can do extraordinary things. And Jack, you have a new book. It's a very exciting book together with Defyeneurs, the 30-day sobriety solution. This is a very, very exciting book to see behind. What is the driving why behind the energy of this latest book?
Well, it came out of my own personal life. My parents were both alcoholics, fought a lot. Eventually, my mom divorced my dad because my dad got violent when he drank, and she, to protect her 3 sons, decided to get a divorce. I ended up living in my grandmother's attic with my mom for a year, and then and she was an alcoholic, so it was like it never seemed to end. And my aunt, I can remember being at her house when she just fell face first into her mashed potatoes because she'd drunk too much that night, and ended up in a rehab. I have 2 children who, if there is an alcoholic gene, they got it, and they had to go through rehab. So I've seen the pain of alcoholism and addiction. And then I met Dave at a workshop, and he was someone who had been an alcoholic, relapsed 3 times, and then he discovered the human potential movement, and I think was listening to a Tony Robbins tape and reading some of my books, and he thought, why aren't they teaching this in rehab? And so he started studying everything in the human potential movement and realized that he wasn't drinking anymore, that he found his life purpose, and he forgave people, and he realized he could visualize and meditate and use affirmations and have a purpose and a vision for his life and so forth. And he stopped drinking. And so he started applying those principles to his friends who were drinking, and then he created a coaching program. When I met him, the coaching program had been going for about 5 or 6 years. They had an 80% success rate as opposed to 10 to 20%, which most rehabs in AA get. So, and rehab in AA is great for the people that can afford it and the people who stick with it. But the problem is most people don't and can't. And so we wanted an alternative. So the subtitle is How to Quit or Cut Back Drinking in the Privacy of Your Own Home. And basically, we now have 80% success rate. The book's been out just a little over a month, and we're now getting people that are completing that 30 days. Hundreds and hundreds of them that are sending us emails and putting posts on Amazon.com saying, oh, my God, I didn't think I could really do it, and I did it, and I'm so happy, and I'm spending better time with my kids, and I'm able to function at night and the next morning. I've lost weight. I feel healthier. So it's very, very exciting that this is working. And we have a free companion website for the book where people can go. And, there's guided visualizations, there's meditations, there's EFT tapping for tapping away your cravings, tapping away the fear that my life won't be fun, I won't have any friends if I stop drinking. So it literally is, I think it's the beginning of a movement to reconfigure how sobriety works, how recovery works in North America and hopefully globally. We've already got some publishers interested in translating the book into Russian. Russia is a huge drinking problem. 2 out of 3 North Americans have a drinking problem. I always say, look to your right, look to your left. One of you's okay, 2 of you have a problem. So it's a huge, huge need, and one that I felt I wanted to address at this stage of my life because of my own kids having gone through that.
It's amazing. I love the energy of this book. I love your words. I love how you share that Defyeneurs really focused on the power to visualize and meditate. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Jack, on behalf of Defyeneurs and just everyday people doing extraordinary things, we want to thank you for being a part of this energy and sharing your extraordinary gifts with the world. I'm always truly honored to, first of all, have been ignited by a lot of your work and really seen it translate into the world. And we're so honored to have you part of the Difference Makers issue. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be part of it. I remember when we first met at that conference, and you've been someone who's just really been on fire and making a huge difference in the world yourself. So I consider you a brother in the work. So thank you for the opportunity to share again.